Hey, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining me earlier to talk about Oakland Athletics President Dave Caval's response to the reaction to his ill-advised tweet that he put out yesterday. And I remind you that tomorrow or today, it's 1:08 in the East at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 in the East, Alameda County Supervisor, District 4, Nate Miley, who's also the chairman of the Oakland Alameda County Joint Powers Authority, will be my guest. Right now, I want to show you something that I presented last year, December, and it's this on Oakland News Now. And I scroll down to share with you the information in it. This title is called, and I want to thank Ralph for that beautiful picture in Las Vegas of Alliegiant Stadium from a distance. Ralph Esparza is an executive with Wyndham Hotels, and he was kind enough to make a vlog, and that photograph is part of it. So that's credit to Ralph Esparza. Now, scrolling down, this was a long blog post that talked about how the bond issue that was passed by the Nevada legislature works to get the $750 million that was used as part of the construction, to pay part of the construction cost that led to the building of what is now called Alliegiant Stadium. And there's the corporate structure, which I won't go through, but I'm going to go all the way down to the spreadsheet that I developed. And I had explained that they're using a risky bond debt coverage ratio of 1.5 to 1, of course. That's Jeremy Aguilo, who actually laughed at me when I said that the stadium hotel tax rate was too small, and basically presented a "we got this" kind of attitude, which is, hey, that's, everyone has a right to their opinion. But I never laugh at anyone regarding the techniques of financing. So at any rate, I discussed the story and the techniques, and I made this spreadsheet, okay? And I'm going to take you right through the basics right here, where it said that the carryover revenue here, if you can see that or not, but where it says carryover was 8.1 million, and the net was 3.385 million. And this is from what you're looking at, first year bond issue. This is revenue that was collected by Clark County on a monthly basis for the bond issue. This was 2019 first full year, after it was really let in 2017. That was a pay-go period, but when the bond was actually launched, that was April of the previous year. And so what you have above here is actually, you can't see all of it, but that's the previous year of the bond issue, 2018. This is 2019. So 2018 is above. That was, I didn't present that here. I wanted to get to the part where the first full year of bond-related revenue collection fiscal year, first full fiscal year, okay? That's what this presents. So the carryover was 8.1 million. The net was 3.385 million. And so the next year down here, all right, we started with that carryover of 3.385 million, and yet we had a net of negative 10.9 million. This is 2020. This is the pandemic year. We started with a July revenue of 4.2 million for that month. And as we went from July, August, September, actually October, November, and then December of 2019, then January of 2020, start off with a healthy 5 million, then February 3 million. That's here. Do you see the arrow? See the arrow that I'm moving there? See that? All right. And then March, 2 million. And then the pandemic hit, and we went from 2 million in March, which historically has actually been Las Vegas' best year. But this is when the pandemic started to set in. And then in April, it was full force to the point where the stadium only received $146,000 in bond revenue. Okay. And then 157,000. And then we kicked up to, wow, $742,000, which is really a big come down from the many millions that was collecting on a monthly basis, right? So that was 220. So then I said that you would have a carryover of 3.385 and then a negative $14,285,000. That was last year. And if you remember, there was a drawdown of 11 million. I didn't quite get that. I came up with 10.9 million net. Okay. They drew down 11. So we were just off by a little bit, right? And note, I said right here, 57.8 million. See where it says carryover and net, and see my arrow there? Okay. It says 57.28 million left in the bond reserves account. That's the debt service reserve. 57.28 million. Okay. I'm putting it, see 57.28 million. So now we go down to fiscal year. And what I write here is the revenue expressed in the column at the left is from the Las Vegas Stadium Authority files. As you can see, the pain from the pandemic, the lockdown caused reduction in visitors was first expressed in March, as I told you. This is above here, okay? And then, of course, it went down and then became really bad in April and May. And so, and I said that, again, that I calculated a loss of 14.23 million, but the carryover from 2019, the 3.385 million produced a negative 10.9 million. I said that's not far off from the 11.6 million that was actually drawn down from the bond debt service reserve, leaving 57.28 million remaining. And I said, now let's see how this looks for 2021, what I will call the first forecast year. Okay. First forecast, because we're not finished with 2021. And here we are. We had a net of 195,221. Okay. And this starts July of 2020, goes all the way through to we're getting close to the fiscal year. All right. And the revenues we have here on the left are actually far greater than what they were or have been in actual practice. So I'd say October was an estimate. All right. August was an estimate, September. Then we had October 2020, because this is 2020 to 2021 is the way it works. Then November, December, then January, February, March, April, May, June. Okay. The actual take was less. So, but not too much so. So we had a carryover of 0, a net of negative 30, and a reserve account of 57.2 million. All right. And a net of 27 million. So where we're at right now is that another drawdown. And what I wrote simply was this. I said that here, July, August, and September revenues are actual, but for the rest of 2020, I tested an improved hotel climate, but still problematical for a number of reasons, producing an average monthly revenue of 2 million. And I said, note the result produces a net negative 30 million by the end of the fiscal year. That cuts the remaining reserve of 57.2 million, leaving just over 27 million that would be in the reserve for the next year. Okay. So the drawdown here was actually, in actual practice, less than 27 million. Because according to Las Vegas Stadium Authority, and I have to revise this, they had a little bit more money in the till. But the bottom line is their reserve right now is at 54 million. Mine is here is at 57 million. And as it stands. So they didn't include a spreadsheet to show exactly where we're at. The Stadium Authority said that we had a debt service reserve of 66 million. What they said is different from what the county says. Now here's what the county presents in actual practice. The point basically here is that in terms of a slide, there was nothing to develop that proved me wrong. Okay. This did happen, and it's continuing to happen. Now, there is one development that will change this, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I want to show you right now is the news of the day that basically rubber stamp what I pushed here last December. And this comes from Bloomberg, among other publications. As you can see, stadium bonds for NFL Raiders struggle even as Las Vegas reopens. All right. And it reads, Las Vegas comeback not enough. And it reads, county plans to draw on reserve fund for debt payment. Tourism recovery is still, quote, work in progress, S&P analyst says. This reads, a bond finance stadium for the Las Vegas Raiders continues to show signs of struggling, even with a bounce back in tourism to support the debt. Clark County, Nevada, which is home to the gambling hub of the city of Las Vegas, is expected to draw on its debt service reserve fund Tuesday, that was today, to make a payment associated with the $645 million of municipal bonds sold in 2018 for the stadium, according to S&P Global Ratings and a regulatory filing. This is the county's second such withdrawal in 6 months, typically one of the early signs of a project facing financial trouble. It comes even as cities like Las Vegas reopen their economies, as more Americans are vaccinated. The drop in tourism has rippled through the $3.9 trillion municipal bond market, given that taxes on hotels stays often help repay the bonds sold for convention centers and sports facilities like the Raiders Stadium. Clark County has enjoyed the benefits of a strong tourism industry before the pandemic, with hotel occupancy rates higher than the national average, according to bond documents from 2018. When the debt was initially sold, S&P said the county officials anticipated hotel room taxes would cover stadium bond debt service payments through maturity in 2048. Now, I say that because I told anyone who wouldn't listen that rate of the 8/100ths and 1% was too small to effectively service the debt on that bond issue. And with a 1.5 to 1 debt coverage ratio, which means simply that for every $1.50 of money that they gain as revenue, that's what that means. They're actually spending out $1 rather than spending out 500, spending out 50 cents of it. If they spend out 50 cents of it, it would be a debt coverage ratio of 2. 2 is the standard in municipal finance. But they decided for 1.5, mainly because it sizes the bond in such a way that it can fit into a smaller tax rate. They were trying to keep the tax rate low because they feared, they being the Southern Nevada Tourism and Infrastructure Committee that was established by Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval, that it would in turn drive up hotel room rates. And Las Vegas is very sensitive to that being a convention-powered town. So that's how we got to where we're at with this. It should have been a 1% hotel tax rate, but they wanted 88/100ths 1% instead of 1%. 1% would have kept them out of trouble, but I digress. So anyway, the Bloomberg piece goes on to read, the county also made a reserve withdrawal in November, as you know, to make 2020 debt payments, citing decline in tourism. And the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority reported that tourism in March 2021 was the highest since February of last year, with more than 2.2 visitors, a 45% jump. Hotel occupancy rose to 55%, but that's still 36% below pre-pandemic levels. And weekend occupancy rates were stronger. They have a long way to go. A long way to go. The county is planning to use an estimated $11.7 million from a reserve fund sub-account to help make an $18.6 million principal interest payment due June 1st. And room tax collections were insufficient to make the debt payment. According to Eric Papa, a spokesperson of Clark County, an estimated $54.4 million is expected to remain in the reserve fund after the withdrawal. And so that is where that's where they are, and I have to adjust mine, and say that I think I have to adjust mine because I believe that what's going to go on is that mine right now is at roughly 27 million, and for the debt service reserve, there's a 54 million after the drawdown. I'll adjust mine to meet theirs, and this is where we were at, which will take us through 2022 without problems, and that will give them enough time to get some measure of help from the federal government. They're really, on thin ice there. And then, of course, there's the other harder to see picture regarding the stadium internal revenues that come from events. They haven't had any events. They're just starting to get them. I would guess that paying the costs has been assisted by the National Football League to maintain the stadium itself. I mean, those lights are powered on. They're not free. Someone's got to get paid, right? So I would think the NFL is helping with that. That's just a guess. I don't have any evidence to back that claim. It's hypothesis, an educated guess based on study. Okay. So that's where we are right now. There was another drawdown. I'm going to also adjust my document that I wrote and the spreadsheet to give us a better picture and forecast of the future. There are a number of ways they can get out of this. They can have, and I think they should have, a higher room tax rate. I think they should go to the legislature to get it. In case the infrastructure bill doesn't come to pass, this is the time they really need to solve the basic structural problem with this bond issue, and that's that 88 100ths and 1% tax. Just make it 1%, because you have hotels that are adjusting their rates anyway, and they're going to do that. That 1%, that difference is not going to be a deal killer for anybody coming to Las Vegas at this point. People are going to come to Las Vegas. They're going to come. They want to get out of the house. I think this is a good time to really right the wrong of that really small tax rate of 88 100ths and 1%. Make it a straight 1%, and they'll have a better chance of. They'll be in a far better position in the future. I tell you that they really will. All right, that's really what they need to do. Okay. So, Zennie, you were right. There's no reason to believe that numbers will get any better soon for Vegas. I don't blame Oakland for not matching the millions Vegas gave the Raiders to move. No, Oakland should have. And I think that the Raiders would have been in better stead if they had remained and built in Oakland. But look, I also don't blame Mark for his vision. I remember when I was at his Raiders sponsor party, which, he could have asked me to leave, but he didn't. I was very honored to be there. And he was saying, look out, he's saying this is about activation. Look at Las Vegas, all these signs with people selling things and all that. I get that. I get what he was trying to do. And I thought then, I think now it's genius. Okay. I'm not going to take that away at all. No, absolutely not. I think what he's done is very exciting. And I think it portends a positive future for sports, because also there's gambling. Meanwhile, in Oakland and in California, we've done next to nothing to tap into the growing sports gambling industry. And given the size of California, the inaction in that area that I'm talking about is shameful. Okay. That's something else I would think the A's want to tap into, in Las Vegas. And I believe Mark's going to help them too. We'll see. But we got to get better about how we think about business. And we have to, in Oakland, stop making everything personal. Like we're a small town like Mayberry RFD or something like that. All right. Subscribe to Zennie62, bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com, and That ends this broadcast. See you tomorrow.